About time we put a name to a face here, or a name to a voice. I'm Alex. I'll be your builder. So I wanted to give you a quick walk around of my mill and what I did here. Now I took a td05-16g housing. It's for a Hyundai Sonata. It's a little different, but as you can see, it's much bigger than even the Garrett TB03. And you can see it port matched. That is internally port matched to a td05-H12B housing. And I might do something with the downpipe at some point. Now, what I did with the turbo out, and this is something I strongly suggest if you haven't done yet, is if we look, it's going to be hard to see, but there's an oil adapter in there, as you know, with the filter stuck on the end. Go ahead and order up 2 O-rings for that, because with the turbo out, it's super easy to get to. My impact socket will fit right on the end, and it will barely touch the right side engine mount. And as you can see, I'm still using stock hosing. Made sure my breather system is perfectly clean. It must always stay that way. I did an MBC. I had Turbo Plus. I didn't really care for it and never really got it to work the way I wanted to, so I just put an MBC in and called it a day. I dialed in pretty high. Initially, I had set the boost really low. It doesn't matter what your lower end wastegate is doing. Mine, if you can see it, just barely there, it will bolt up and it will maintain the correct length if you bolt to the lower housing just before the compressor begins to unwind. Anything more than that, and you're going to collide with the compressor housing and not have the correct length, and it will be a it will be a bit of a pig to tune that to base boost before we go ahead and flow match that wastegate dump valve. Internal blow-off valve, as you can see, I did not bypass it yet. I'm perfectly happy with that. The 16G housing is really nice. One word, if you wanted to, I could get you a td05-H12B CHRA, and you wouldn't need to do any milling or any of that clocking or any of that nonsense if you didn't want to go that route. But I strongly suggest you go with a full 16G CHRA, only because it's impedance matched, meaning that the turbine is mated for the 16G compressor blade. So onwards to the walk. I went through 3-bar, I'm sure you already did this, 3-bar rising rate regulator. Mine's pretty standard there. Made sure my PCV system, mine's still a little dirty from the last time it leaked, but my PCV is perfect. It has to be perfect all the way around. The hosing is still a point of contention with me. I don't like it. And in fact, I'm making efforts to find better hosing, which I think you already have done. So we can use that, and we can certainly work with that. On the throttle body side, I went ahead and cleaned that out, as a matter of course. I went ahead and, re-hosed pretty much everything here. I did stiff vacuum hoses and little adapters, if you can see them on the throttle body. They work perfectly, they seal, and they do not cause that idle bog to occur. Now, you have LH 2.2. I have 2.4. Slight differences there in the fuel map. I think you have the better one. So, that in mind, yours will work pretty well. And otherwise, there's not too much special you really have to do. You have the nice cam. I have the stock T-grind with a 530 head. You have possibly a ported head with port biasing, which I'm kind of jealous of. I had to make do with my 530 heads and T-grind for now. And I'm running stock components otherwise. Breathes well. Did some little intercooler updates. Nothing too major there that you can see. And I did do something with this. I wanted this box. I don't like cones because they put too much heat stress on this. Now what you could do with your 550s is go ahead and get an air mass meter for the 550s and flow match that. Because if you're running a 16, you're running slightly lean and you're going to go all the way to the end of that metering range. So my suggestion would be is if you have anything but the green tops, sorry about that. Let me pull the light out again. If you have anything but green tops, we'd want to impedance match that, meaning we want the extended range of a 20 to the 550s. Otherwise, we're doing crazy things like Zener diodes and resistors in series with some of those pinouts. And though it works, it's marginal at best. You just probably want to go ahead and just get the right meter. I'm doing well with the 16. It does not detonate at all with stock timing, which is pretty amazing. But given that these 16Gs are pretty much the size of Garrett's without the whine, meaning no excessive heat, because we're making much efficiency of the exhaust gases spent, and we're spooling up on that with really minimal impedance to flow. And a word on that real quick, man. I'm using the log style. Mine's welded. That housing is all welded together in there. One bolt you'll find is welded to the housing and manifold itself to keep everything in place. One thing we could do is take a 90 plus manifold like I suggested and either do a td05-16g, which you might be happy with. It's a tiny turbine, all things said and done. If we took your 13C and attempted to bolt a 15G to it, the two will not fit. That is a really tiny turbine housing, and I would never suggest using that. So I wouldn't do that for you. I would get a td04HL and would not hesitate to go ahead and mill that out slightly to accept the cartridge. CHRA is one complete unit. Mine's VSR balanced. So if you look for a CHRA on your own, just make sure it's fully, it's going to be internally VSR balanced, vibration sorting rig for reference purposes. The whole unit is VSR balanced, not just the components such as just the exhaust and turbine by itself. So I wouldn't suggest taking this apart. I wouldn't suggest rebuilding it if it goes bad. It's highly unlikely. They are very stout units. So all things considered, this is a little bit of a walk around, but it's more like a detailed view, and we're just focusing on turbo options here. I hope you found this a little bit informative, because I want you to have all the choices that I would go for as a turbo builder and as an automotive engineer, which I am by default. Been doing this for about 25 years, so I got quite a bit of mileage on me. Another word of something: if you haven't done so with your M46, go ahead and change that oil. Though it's not specified. We want it to live a little longer. Those manual gear boxes, they're very sturdy in design, but they don't hold up quite as well as the AW71s do, and I can tell you that's what I have out back there, and it's perfect. The oil's been drained and things have been cleaned out real good. The cooling system's been flushed out, and as you can see, I have 0 leaks. So I'll reiterate that. The adapter, the oil adapter, just go ahead and get 2 O-rings for that, because we'll change that and we'll clean that up, because those have a tendency to turn into bangles, not jelly bracelets. So if they're anything but jelly bracelets, they're junk and they will leak on you. Likewise with the fittings. And I went ahead before this and I made sure that my oil cooler in here is dry. And as you can see, the bottom of my drip pan is dry. As you can see, all the fittings dry, and nothing is leaking out back. Dry, full oil, and it stays that way. So yeah, to reiterate that, PCV, make sure it's clean. If you somehow have a 90 plus nipple and PTC at the very end there, like I do, make sure that's completely free of any debris. And what I typically do is that hose there, is I upgrade that. And though it looks pretty plain, it is actually a very sturdy unit, which will not deteriorate like the stock ones do. This is an upgraded hose. It's very stiff. This is an upgraded coupler, and I think you have silicone all the way around. Not too bad for the application, but I like these rubber hoses better. And I went ahead and sealed this box off because I just wanted the real estate. I like the signature. Some other people may prefer conicals. I don't. I did put a nice filter in there, though you can't see it. It's a lifetime deal. And I also opened up this box. You can't see it, but I took the insert out of it. so I can flow more gas and maintain stoic that much easier. You know, we always want to stay in stoic with this. We don't want to adjust to the point of detonation or even pre-detonation where the flame fronts travel in slightly opposite directions but cancel, and you will not hear the pinging, and neither will the knock sensor. Not until the damage is done, unfortunately. With our motors, we tend to want to boost more, and not honoring this, not honoring the compression ratio, not honoring rotating assemblies at the bottom, and not honoring the breather box leads us to trouble, unfortunately. So I run colder plugs. You do what you like there, but that's my recommendation. So as I said, this should be pretty good for you. And if it doesn't fit on Instagram, look for it on my YouTube page. I'll send you a link, and we can take it from there. There's a lot of different options for these cars, and they are all totally valid, even with stock rotating components like I have. Obviously, things like timing belts and seals, I did all that prior to. And I prepped pretty thoroughly for mine. I'm using my stock downpipe and my stock exhaust for now. And OBX is coming my way, like yours. Gave me some good ideas there and kind of got my arse going on that. And I can notice the difference in flow with the smaller downpipe. So I'll be hammering away at that and probably doing a custom weld there at some point or another. And I'm a family guy, so I got a lot going on otherwise. But this setup is excellent for these cars. It is very well matched and will beat the piss out of any 13C out there. I don't care how fast it spools. It is very efficient. You won't see it on the gauge, but it is boosting even in the black. You'll feel the difference immediately, even just a short time before it's totally broken in. So, good clean adapters back here.